Welcome back to another episode of Josh Does Movies. And tonight actually, it's not today, it's tonight. I had just got back from seeing The Northman, a film that features Alexander Skarsgård as Amleth, a Viking warrior prince on a quest for vengeance against the individual who murdered his father when he was a child. Um, this movie is directed by Robert Eggers, who has done two other films to date, and I'll touch on them a little bit later. But this again is a Norse, based off a Norse uh, kind of myth and story that's been passed down through time. And I'll be honest, coming right off the bat, this movie was very artistic. It was very poignant and had a I don't want to say a message, but it knew what it was trying to convey in the roughly about just under two, a little bit over like a little bit under 2.5 hours that it was at. Um, and quite frankly, it was for me just a truly magnificent experience. Kind of going into this, Eggers' other movies are The Witch and The Lighthouse, and I think this movie's going to suffer potentially for some people what those other movies have suffered for even me personally. Um, Story time on a side here, but I remember going to see The Witch with my family, and we were all excited because it was being praised as like this big horror film, the scariest thing ever. Stephen King was promoting it as the scariest movie ever, and it wasn't really a big scary horror film. It was a period piece that was a kind of a thriller drama per se. And I think the Northman advertising does a little bit of the same here because you kind of feel like this is going to be a Braveheart style movie. You definitely get action in the movie that is very well done and it's visually beautiful. But in the end, the Northman is more of a Shakespearean tragedy in some ways and the Shakespearean play in some ways, which I thought was interesting because I'm like, man, are we going to see another film kind of just based linearly on Shakespeare? We have so many of them all the time. Um, so when I looked up a little bit of the history of this, where this movie came from, and I found out that what the movie's based on, which is the legend of Amleth, is actually the legend that Shakespeare based for Hamlet. So I can't condone this movie as adapting Shakespeare again because it's actually adapting the things Shakespeare adapted from. Which kind of reminds us that a lot of times in movies and theaters, when you tell somebody they haven't seen something original or nobody makes things original, not even Shakespeare made things that were original. It's all about how you take simple story beats that are going to be similar from different movies and different times, and you implement them in a way that can be captivating to an audience in that format. And I think Eggers here does a fantastic job of this. Um, we have this very personable, very small in scope but big in scope um, story here, where Ambleth sees the death of his father in the very beginning of the movie in a very brutal way by his uncle. Again, I already said this is the myth, Shakespeare based Hamlet on, so that's going to be the uncle that kills the father, and the son has to revenge the father, his dad. Um, in that aspect, but the way the story is told and the personal relationships you get throughout and the acting you get throughout was truly magnificent, and it was matched with some amazing directing work and amazing cinematography and really strong score work that puts you in the world that this is in. um, One other thing, on the side that I think this movie does so well that maybe it could be a downfall to some people is it's brutal, and I think a lot of times we look back in history and we kind of romanticize some parts of it, and we look away of what was probably really like back then. And when you have the Vikings here in the mid 800 ADs, you get this feel of what life was not beautiful and romanticized in this movie. It was very dark. It was very cutthroat. Um, I want to say bleak in a negative way, but it did not make you feel like this was an era you want to live in, which I think is kind of true. I think if you go back to the 800s and the Middle Ages and stuff like that, we see games, shows like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Spartacus, Braveheart, but these worlds that actually were there were not as pleasant as we remember. Life was short. People knew life was short, so it was all about making an impression, and being true to your family in that type of a way. So this movie really takes that and shows it throughout. Um, I'm not very much in the Norse mythology myself. There are scenes in this movie, and there's beats to this movie that plays into Norse mythology. Um, I imagine I'd be surprised if this was somewhat accurate to the time period too, with certain things we see in the with Amleth where he's at. We first see him as an adult to um, everything going on with the type of people when it comes to slavery and stuff like that. Um, was truly um, again, I don't want to use dark, but just grounded, grounded in a very mature way. I guess I'll say that. Um, but going into the performances, Alexander Skarsgård does a brilliant role as Amleth, and not only is he doing, I want to say easy, but he's not just here to be Mr. Revenge and Mr. Good Looking, which he does that very well, but he has some very nuanced acting moments, and he's able to convey emotions very quickly and very well. And you see progression with his character as the story moves on here and his experience moves on here, and how he learns of things that are different than what he actually thought going into the beginning of this movie. Um, we have Klaus Spang as the uncle that Amleth is trying to avenge for his father's death. Father played by Ethan Hawke. Um, and Anya Taylor Joy plays kind of this Slavic sorceress who's a fellow who um, Amleth comes across in his journey to find his uncle. And Taylor Joy and Skarsgård has some really powerful moments, and they have really solid chemistry in the movie. And once again, like Anya Taylor Joy is truly, I think, is going to be a future actress up there that's going to be among the legends as she grows older and gets more and more of these roles. I think after the Queen's Gambit, you if it would be ridiculous if you're not looking for some type of a lead character that you can put her in, because she is just charismatic. She has a stage presence that captivates you, but also brings out the best in others. And I think she does this very well here for Skarsgård, and is able through her kind of performance, as well as Skarsgård, to give Amleth a human connection and really bring in this emotional range that a lot of this movie was intentionally missing, because the Vikings are very much a die in battle. I must be my strongest self type of person. No vulnerability allowed. So having Taylor Joy's Olga kind of bring that out of both Skarsgård's performance and Amleth so well was just a testament to her chops in acting. Nicole Kidman as well. I didn't realize it was Nicole Kidman until the credits ran. Played Amleth's mother, Queen Gudrun. Um, and there's some amazing scenes that take place between Skarsgård and Kidman that honestly, even though I kind of figured what was coming in some ways, the way it was acted, the way it was presented, really made you feel for her character, and made you think twice about what the message in the story, or what you're looking for in this movie. This is very much a movie that I don't know if there's a clear good person or bad person in some ways. I think it presents itself to be very double sided and very complex in all different ways. And I personally commend the movie for that. It didn't try to make it just a simple heroic revenge tale. It really did a good job showing Fournier and what was going on in his life and what were some of the positives that happened per se. And it makes you, reflect back in the beginning of the movie in a whole different way, and it makes you think about how some of the actions went in the very first scene. Really it brings everything back and just rounds this movie out very well. Um, like I said, the action in this movie is quite incredible. It was budgeted at around 70 to 90 million dollars, and it was well spent money. Um, don't go into this movie thinking you're getting a high action Viking warrior type movie. No, you're getting a very personal uh, tragedy that's rooted in something like a Shakespeare per se, with personal connections and struggles between characters and what's going on in their lives and what's happening in the past and the future. Um, I'd recommend this, and it's very adult. Like it's very violent. It's very brutal. There's nudity in the movie in some parts. Um, so this movie is not something I'd recommend that you take anybody who's like 12, 13ish to. I think this is an older teen adult movie. And it's somebody who's understanding going in that you're not getting some type of amazing action, nonstop action movie, but you're getting it at a slower paced drama filled with some amazing action and character moments, and really just what living in a world that we don't usually see in a very unforgiving way. Um, don't recommend this to people who are expecting the action. Like I said, not a kid movie. Definitely something I recommend seeing in theaters. It was shot so beautifully, and it has that kind of feel that you get in a theater that you don't always get with movies. Even the best movies, you can say, you could experience very similarly in home. But this is one I'd say, like, especially if you have a Dolby Atmos theater, I think this is going to be a tremendous movie to see in that format. Um, because the sound of design of it was so well done, and the shot and the cinematography was so beautiful. Um, it's just something that needs to be seen in an environment that's going to give you the full range of that overall. Especially big screen. You're going to want to see this movie on a big screen, just for how beautiful the cinematography is. Um, Now, the big question is where is this going to rate on my top 10 list? We know Dog was number 10 after seeing the Nick Cage movie last night. I can happily say this has definitely kicked Dog off in that 10 spot. So, Dumbledore, you probably have about 1 week, one movie left. I don't know, before you get knocked out. But that's kind of where I'm at, looking at the bottom of the list. But where does this movie rank in my top 10? And I'm kind of happy to say, and surprised to say, that The Northman has become my favorite movie of the year. I really enjoyed Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think it's a phenomenally fantastic movie. The Northman was able to, I think, meet my expectations in a lot of ways, and I appreciate the artistic um, values put in the movie. I really connected to what the characters were going through, and I thought the way that they were able to, the actors and the writing and the direction was able to convey that the fierce Norse Viking nature while also showing very human sides of things, and to have a very complex story throughout there um, was truly fascinating and very enjoyable. Um, this wasn't a movie that I would say was super fun and you're going to have a blast and it's going to make you feel good, warm, and fuzzy on the inside, but I think this movie is just a work of art. And if you go in expecting it to be something like that, if you go in expecting to have the personal struggles and the personal battles and learning what your destiny might be and might not be, I think you're gonna love this movie. If you're somebody who's seen The Witch or The Lighthouse and loved and liked those movies a lot, this movie is right up your alley. I think it hits everything that it wants to hit and more. The budget was well spent. There is dark in some areas in terms of like the actual physical darkness, but I think those were pretty intentional, and I never felt like it was tough to see. Um, so Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the Northman. This movie was fantastic. If you get a chance, please see this in theaters. If you've seen this already, please leave your thoughts down below. Am I overrating this movie a lot? Did you like it maybe as much as me? Did you like it not as much as me? Um, if you're interested in other movie reviews, I have the Everything Everywhere All at Once. Pretty much any movie that's in this top list right here, you can find back on my channel. We have another movie coming up. I'm gonna either see it tomorrow or I'm gonna wait till next week, which is The Bad Guys. And then I'm gonna announce right now. On Friday evenings, I'm gonna release every Friday evening from now on a box office recap of the weekend. Um, I love the box office. Um, I mentioned last night that I'm really interested to see how these three new movies come out, how they compare, especially when you still have like Sonic doing well and Dumbledore, in its second weekend. What's gonna win this weekend? And I thought to myself, like, I have Mondays off from work. I can spend an hour or two looking up the results, maybe making some slides and charts that I can show here, and have a little fun, overall. So that'll be coming out Monday. I hope maybe to get the bad guys up tomorrow. If not, that'll be next weekend. But yeah, if you like the content, please subscribe, leave a like on the video, comment your thoughts and feelings about the Northmen. Um, Check out my other content and look for some new content coming in the future. I thank any of you guys who have stuck around for this review and all of my other reviews. Um, I'm really having fun going to the movies as often as I am, and I'm really enjoying coming here and just talking to just the camera, talking out loud about movies. But I found some pretty interesting, cool people along the way, and I just thank anybody who stops by. And I hope you guys have an excellent day or night wherever you're at. And until next time, stay safe.